Lovely to have you with us on BBC London. Coming up this Wednesday evening, controversial plans to pedestrianise Oxford Street. The Mayor says it'll boost growth in the capital. Residents have their say.
We need to know how it would work, we need to know how it affects congestion, and we need to know what it would do for the people who rely on the buses and taxis for access, and on the businesses who need Oxford Street for access in order for their deliveries.
However, the pedestrianisation plans do divide opinion. Also tonight. From next month, police chiefs will now be able to automatically sack officers who fail background checks. We'll bring you the details. Plus, a plea to dog walkers to pick up their poo after farmers warn it could be making their cattle ill. And with just days to go until the London Marathon, the runner hoping to break a world record with his unique costume and a special reason for wearing it. Hello and a very warm welcome to the programme. It's been debated for many years. Should parts of Oxford Street be pedestrianised? What do you think? Well, it's still proving controversial. London's mayor says his latest plans would increase visitor numbers, create jobs and boost growth in the capital. Well, today, local residents had their say on its future. With more, here's our transport correspondent, Tom Edwards.
A damp morning on Oxford Street on what can be the busiest shopping street in Europe. It's here the mayor wants to create what's called a development corporation, taking planning decisions away from councils. The plan would be to pedestrianise the area.
It'll be much better. Yeah, people will be more convenient walking and no traffic, nothing, no cars coming here.
I think keeping the roads like this makes more sense. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't pedestrianise it anyway.
The fact that so many people are feeling really excluded.
Today, the Assembly Planning Committee, deciding on whether to oppose a development corporation, heard views from residents who feel excluded.
This is the wrong way round. What we need is to know exactly what is planned. If there is a plan for pedestrianisation, we need to know how it would work, we need to know how it affects congestion, and we need to know what it would do for the people who rely on the buses and taxis for access, and on the businesses who need Oxford Street for access in order for their deliveries.
This is what the mayor previously proposed in 2017, but concerns over where the buses would go killed it off.
It's Christmas buying that dominates the shops and fills everybody's mind.
Once the jewel in the UK's retail sector, Oxford Street's popularity has waned. So is a development corporation the answer?
If you're talking to me as an Assembly member, I am deeply concerned that this is a power grab from the mayor to take away power from local residents. And I don't know what it is that he doesn't like about Westminster Council leadership, but to come up with these plans at the moment against his a council that's controlled by his own party seems very strange indeed.
The mayor has said he believes a development corporation is the best way to improve and regenerate the street. The consultation is open until May the 2nd. Tom Edwards, BBC London.
The Met and the public have been vocal about the vetting of police officers after a series of scandals in the force. Well, from next month, police chiefs will be able to automatically sack officers who fail background checks. The government is introducing the changes following concerns raised over the murder of Sarah Everard by a serving officer. Our Home Affairs correspondent Sonia Jessup is here, and there has been ongoing frustration about this, not least from the head of the Met.
Yes, Sir Mark Rowley has previously said that it is absurd that there is currently no mechanism in place for police chiefs to sack an officer if they fail their vetting. And yes, an independent report also called for reforms to vetting following the murder of Sarah Everard by police officer Wayne Couzens. Now, the Met tried out its own process to try to deal with this issue, but earlier this year, the High Court ruled that it was unlawful. And in that case, the Met had removed vetting from an officer called Sergeant Lino De Maria after he was accused of rape. Now, he denied the allegations against him. He wasn't charged with anything. And the High Court said that the process the Met had used was unfair. Now, Sir Mark, though, said that left policing in a hopeless position because it meant that officers with very serious allegations against them, deemed unfit to be around members of the public, were still in the force, still on full pay. And he said that was costing taxpayers millions of pounds. He said at the time that 29 officers and staff were on this special vetting leave. Now, the government says these new reforms, which will come into play next month, will mean that officers can now automatically be sacked in that situation.
At the moment, I think most people will be shocked to know that there isn't a way of removing a police officer who can't hold vetting, where those background checks show that there's a risk. As Sir Mark has set out in his comments and his frustration, that there was no way, no bespoke way of getting rid of those officers who can't hold vetting. So what's being introduced is a clear process and procedure.
The policing minister there. Do we know what police officers themselves think of this?
Well, the Police Federation of England and Wales, which represents rank and file officers, says that the overwhelming majority will appreciate the clarity which has finally come, it says, on this issue, as they don't want to serve alongside people who don't share their values. But it does say it's essential the new system is fair, lawful and transparent. Now, unsurprisingly, the Met Commissioner himself has welcomed these reforms. He says it closes a glaring gap in the law.
OK. Sonia, many thanks indeed. Our Home Affairs correspondent, Sonia Jessup. Turning now to a roundup of some of the day's other stories. A hotel worker who exploited his position to indulge his foot fetish has been jailed after being found guilty of rape and sexual assaults. 26-year-old Ahmed Fahmy from Barnet was sentenced to 10 years. The offences took place between 2008 and 2024. Police are appealing for other victims to come forward. An investigation's begun after graffiti was painted in a children's play area in Clissold Park in Stoke Newington over the Easter weekend. The Met says it's investigating a hate crime incident and inquiries are ongoing. Construction on a new £1.1 billion extension to the British Library is set to begin next year. The project in King's Cross will create around 100,000 square feet of new space for culture, learning, research and business, including a new foyer and public entrance. It's expected to be completed by 2032. And work on a new garden to commemorate the life of Queen Elizabeth II has begun in Regent's Park. Described as biodiverse and climate resilient, the garden will also be home to plant species native to Commonwealth countries. It's hoped the garden will open next year. Still to come, just days to go.
Here at Excel, the marathon effort begins to get a record 56,000 runners signed in for Sunday's London Marathon.
Now, as we've been hearing, Pope Francis will lie in state inside St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican for a period of public mourning until his funeral on Saturday. Here in the capital, Roman Catholics are also marking the Pope's death, including in Catholic schools. Anna O'Neill has been to one in North London, where a special assembly was held.
He was a very important person. He made a change. So it was sad when he died.
It's the first day of the summer term at this Roman Catholic primary school in North London, and these pupils are preparing a special assembly to remember Pope Francis.
It was also very sad for me because he was very humble, and it just shows that we should also be humble and follow in his footsteps even though he's passed away.
And some children had only just heard the news.
I didn't know.
You didn't know?
Yeah, I knew because, me and my parents go to church, but not all the time, just a couple times. And we went home, and obviously my dad and my mum has YouTube and all that stuff, and it kept on saying Pope Francis died and all that.
We were praying for him at every assembly, we prayed for him in every mass and then every day in our classrooms. And it was so lovely just before Easter, the children were able to say in a spontaneous prayer moment, should we still be praying for Pope Francis because he's out of hospital? And yes, he's still very poorly, but yes, your prayers have helped to get him out of hospital and he's back home. And so it was quite hard this morning to come in and speak to the children.
In 2022, on its 50th anniversary, St Martin of Porres Primary School was given a papal blessing by Pope Francis. He was an important spiritual guide for these children, maybe even heavenly.
I do know that he's quite a special saint because when people offered him stuff, he didn't really take it. Like when they said all popes wear golden shoes, and then he said no, I'm not going to wear golden shoes, give the money to some poor people.
And while it's a little early to say whether he will ever become Saint Francis, today in Assembly they prayed for the eternal rest of Pope Francis. How do you think St Martin of Porres School will remember Pope Francis?
Don't really know, but there is quite a lot of pictures up, like one there. Maybe they'll make a display about him.
Anna O'Neill, BBC London.
Rest in peace.
Next, it's emerged today that the Mayor of London has taken legal advice over the expansion of Heathrow Airport. It may come as no surprise because he's been a long-term opponent of a third runway. But could today's revelation put him on a collision course with his own party's government? Here's our political editor, Carl Mercer.
In a factory near Oxford at the end of January came this announcement from the Chancellor.
I come to the decision that perhaps more than any other has been delayed, has been avoided, has been ducked. So I can confirm today that this government supports a third runway at Heathrow.
Within an hour, there was this response from London's mayor, a long-time critic of Heathrow expansion.
Will you support legal action, as you did last time, to stop a third runway?
Well, let's wait and see what proposals are from Heathrow, but if they don't meet the objectives I've set out, I won't hesitate in working on a cross-party basis, working with communities, working with councils to challenge Heathrow Airport.
In the courts?
We'll use whatever means we can to challenge Heathrow Airport.
Today it's been revealed that just a week before that interview, the Mayor had sought legal advice at City Hall over Heathrow's expansion. Perhaps that should be no surprise. The Mayor, after all, joined a legal challenge by 5 London councils against a third runway 5 years ago. It seems likely he may again if Heathrow's application doesn't meet his environmental concerns. Heathrow hasn't yet put in a planning application for a third runway, and it'll have to hit noise, carbon and other environmental targets set by the government. But today, the Transport Secretary was clear in the government's backing for expansion.
Last year was Heathrow's busiest ever year, and demand is expected to continue to increase there. And so if we don't address this issue about capacity constraints at Heathrow, I think we risk losing out to other international hub airports.
No more runway.
The government clearing its plan then, the protesters and City Hall clearing theirs. It seems Labour's mayor could yet be back in court against his own government. Carl Mercer, BBC London.
Now, dog owners are being warned to pick up after their pets during walks in the countryside and around London after farmers' cattle have become seriously ill and some have even lost their calves. Cows and other animals can get an infection caused by parasites in dog mess if ingested. Alice Bandukravi has been to a farm near Staines.
Come on! Chloe is a second-generation farmer, so her family knows from experience what a full-time job it is to keep their animals safe and happy.
So lots of babies, lots of calves in the field.
Yes, so we turned them out just over a week ago, so we can turn them out from the 1st of April back out so they can enjoy the sunshine again.
But this year, for the first time, they've lost as many as 6 cows to a disease transmitted through dog faeces.
So when dogs go to the toilet in the field and it's not picked up, the cows are obviously grazing the land and they can ingest it, like accidentally. Obviously it's not intentional, but it happens. And some dogs will pass on a parasite. It passes on a disease called Neospora, which causes the cow to abort during her pregnancy. And it's also then a lifelong condition, so she will likely not get back in calf.
And if the cows can't produce young, then they have to be sold to the meat industry. And for those dog owners who do bag up their dog waste, it's still not safe to leave that bag out in the open.
Calves are very inquisitive and they don't know what they can eat and not eat yet.
So they might even eat a bag of dog poo?
Yes, and then they're ingesting plastic as well, which they can't process.
This is clearly someone who's been walking here, a dog walker. They've bagged it up, probably with the very best of intentions, but it hasn't made its way to the bin.
And cattle will be grazing in this field?
They absolutely will. It won't be long before they'll be out here grazing as a herd, and if they come across this, it's going to be really bad news for the cows. National Trust is a pro-public access charity, so we want to encourage people to get outside, enjoy the place, but at the same time be responsible dog owners, which means ideally you're encouraging people to pick up their dog waste and take it away with them or put them in the bins provided.
And although we did find evidence of people not doing that, the dog walkers we spoke to certainly were taking their doggy bags away with them.
You see some people like hang up on trees and things like that, and it's not nice for like the next person coming along. Like, it's just literally one of those things. Just take it with you. It's not like it's really that heavy. If it is an inconvenience to you, then maybe you shouldn't be going on the walk anyway.
And even if the bags say they're biodegradable, they're much better off in the dog waste bin. Alice Bandukravi, BBC London.
OK, looking ahead now to this weekend when the streets of the capital will be packed with people running the 45th London Marathon and thousands more lining the route to watch. In fact, this year's 26.2-mile event is aiming to break the world record for the most participants in a marathon, with more than, wait for it, 56,000 people expected to compete on Sunday. Well, our reporter Chris Legg is at the Excel Centre, a very busy Excel Centre, Chris, where runners have started registering to take part.
Yeah, Riz, busier than it's ever been ahead of the marathon because, as you say, it is going to be the biggest London marathon field of all time, potentially a world record for a marathon. 56,000 people have got to be registered ahead of Sunday. Everyone's got their own motivation for running, of course, and we've been out and about here today asking people what their why is for running.
I'm running for Alzheimer's Society because my mum has advanced Alzheimer's, so it feels like something good to do, and running's good for your mental health, so that's the reason.
So I lost my mum in 2018 of pancreatic cancer. So I'd seen the charity to come on, and like I say, it was a challenge to myself in something that I've always never been able to do or said that I wouldn't be able to do.
Muscular dystrophy. So my uncle passed away when I was 2, and it's something my family talks about a lot and talks to me about. My tattoo is for him, and it was something I wanted to raise money for. So.
Good luck to all of them. Now, there is a saying that the marathon is more a case of mind over matter, and one man who's is the perfect embodiment of that is Alex Paget. He is out to set a rather neat record of his own. Let's hear more from him now.
It's a cardboard structure held together with PVC pipes and a backpack and covered in expanding foam with a layer of spray paint on top. So my arms will be poking out of here. I am running the marathon in a giant brain costume. I'm hoping to break the Guinness World Record for the fastest marathon dressed as a body part, brackets male. I've had help from family and friends with the designing, but I've made this from start to finish. It's a heavy costume at 8 kilos, so it's going to be a tough day. I'm putting myself through this to raise money and awareness for a fantastic cause. Headway Brain Injury Trust were really there for me during some of my darkest moments. I have post-concussion syndrome, so that is essentially concussion that hasn't healed. So I still have fatigue issues, balance issues, headaches, confusion, brain fog. Doing an Ironman in Vichy in France in 2021, I fell off my bike going around a corner and hit my head. The next day started to feel ill, and that is now what I know is the start of my post-concussion journey. I don't think it's possible to underestimate how much of an impact this had on my life. My diet, my sleep patterns, and now I'm finally looking at sorting out issues with my eyes. With brain injuries, there's very often no visible sign of the struggle that person might be going through on any given day. Headway are the leading brain injury charity within the UK. I want them to be able to help as many people as they can, and that's why I'm running the marathon in this ridiculous costume, to try and gather as much awareness and attention to, one, their cause, but two, to fundraise for them. I'm not fully there yet, but being able to say I can run the London Marathon, which is not something I thought I'd be able to do, so it's a huge milestone for me.
Well done to Alex. He's going to be easy to spot. Give him a cheer if you see him. Now, if you're running for the first time, you might be a bit wary. You might want a bit of advice. I've got the perfect man to help with that, performance coach Aj Tirachelvam. Aj, from a physical perspective, what would be your top tip?
Well, really, this is taper week, so we need to be reducing the amount of intensity our runners perform this week, but don't become sedentary. You know, do some easy work, do some easy running, and make sure you do your stretches leading up to race day.
What about nutrition? What should people be eating and drinking?
Yeah, so hopefully we've been practicing our nutrition so far, but think like a child. So have some carbohydrates, some sweets, some orange juice, and you can do that carbohydrate load on Friday and Saturday, and then race morning, keep everything as you have practiced already.
I like the sound of the sweets there. What about the mental side of things? It's such a tough mental challenge to undertake.
That's right, after the 2 hour mark, really it does become a game of the mindset and nutrition. So hopefully you've done some visualization of the positive moments, but also those negative ones. How are you going to overcome them? If those thoughts start to come into your mind, just say stop out loud and you'll be able to push through because you know you've done it in your training.
A really tough part of the race, 18 to 22 miles, hitting the wall. I mean, you kind of touched on it there, but how do people force their way through that wall?
Yeah, so make sure you've actually taken on some fuel during the marathon itself. If you haven't, that's the first thing you need to reach for. Get your gels, get your isotonic drink, and then also look to the crowds. We have London, the best crowd in the world, at this marathon, so you.
Do you have any advice for friends and family out there supporting people?
Yeah, definitely. Make sure you have a designated spot where you're going to look out for your runner, your loved one, and carry some gels just in case they need your help on the day.
Oh, thanks so much for all of that. Enjoy your weekend too. He's going to be down there with BBC Radio London. If you are registering, you've got between 10 o'clock and 8 o'clock tomorrow and Friday, and on Saturday your last chance to come here and get your race number and your GPS tracker from 8:30 until 5:30 p.m. Riz.
Chris, thanks very much indeed, and I like that where it says think like a child. And as he said there, BBC Radio London has a special day of marathon coverage live from 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. You can listen on BBC Sounds. But ahead of that, why not sign up to our London Marathon group chat via our Instagram for a front row seat to the build-up and the atmosphere of this epic event. Now, I bet runners and spectators will be keeping an eye on the weekend weather, but what about the next couple of days? Ben is here. Hopefully not as much rain as today.
No, not as much rain as today. In fact, by the marathon, it might be quite warm, Riz, as I will show you in a moment. But you are right. Today hasn't been the best of days. It was pretty gloomy out there, not an awful lot of brightness. And actually, for some of us, yes, there was quite a lot of rain around, particularly first thing this morning. Tomorrow is looking like a brighter day. Not completely sunny, but we should see some sunny spells. And certainly, it looks like it is going to be pretty much dry. Now, through tonight, we will see a fair bit of cloud feeding in from the northeast. So expect mostly cloudy weather as we start tomorrow morning. Temperatures as you wake up up around 6, 7, 8 degrees Celsius. So a bit of a slow start to the day tomorrow with a lot of cloud. There may even be just the odd spot of rain in the breeze, but stick with it as we go through the middle part of the day. The cloud should start to thin and break, and by the afternoon I think we will see some spells of sunshine, not completely blue skies or anything like that, but a brighter day than we've had today, a mostly dry day and a relatively warm day as well, 16, 17, maybe 18 degrees Celsius. Now Friday looks like quite a nice day if you like warmth and sunshine, that is. There will be largely sunny skies overhead, just a little bit of patchy cloud here and there, only a very small chance of catching a shower. Those temperatures up to 17 or 18 degrees. Now as we move into the start of the weekend, things don't look too encouraging initially because we do see this frontal system pushing its way in from the west. Now that is going to try to bring some outbreaks of rain, but that weather front is not going to make much progress. In fact, if anything, it'll just be weakening. So yes, some bits and pieces of rain pushing eastwards through the day, but not an awful lot. It is likely to be quite cloudy, quite murky through the day, temperatures up to 17 or 18 degrees. But let me show you what happens next, because as we go into Sunday for the marathon, well, we're expecting things to be mostly dry, sunny spells, highs of 21 degrees. Into next week, the temperatures may climb even further than that. So some warm weather on the horizon and certainly not an awful lot of rain. Riz.
Look at those sun symbols, Ben. Thank you. And that is where we leave you. Thanks very much for watching. And a reminder, everything you need to know about this year's London Marathon and how to watch or follow the race is on our website at the usual address. Also there, more on the work underway on the garden in Regent's Park to commemorate the life of the late Queen Elizabeth. From me and all the team here, whatever you're doing, have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.